Willows Bend. So tonight we are going to combine what originally was two episodes into one show because it's one topic. So if it was covered originally back December 7th of 2020. So we're getting up there with the archives, moving in a little bit closer each time. So that's a good thing. Um, we are replacing what was lost in essence. So also a good thing. So I'm gonna, if you see me looking off to the side, for anybody who's new to me, I monitor the chat in my Facebook group. That's where most people come to watch anyway. So if you comment and you are watching on YouTube, it does appear here. There I am. Hey Sandy, you shattered. I hope not. Hi Kim. I know what you mean. You're sharing. We're going to give it a minute for everybody to get on in here. I wish that Chris had her phone fixed. She's going to be mad to know we covered the topic. Welcome back. This is one of Chris's favorite topics. And I haven't heard from her today, so I'm guessing it didn't get straightened out. Hey, beautiful Tanya. But she can watch the replay anyway. So, yeah. I wanted to message her, but at the same time, I didn't want to make her feel bad that she was missing it. She'll find out on her own. Hi, Stace. So, for anyone who is new to me, we have been replacing the archives of the Willows Bend group from the original group that had gotten, we lost everything in all the archives as well. So we are working our way forward to up to the point where I had joined with Soma Fusion, and that way everything is there. All the shows for Soma Fusion are there, except from the last year, but I've been doing a show for 3 years now. So, are we going to be it for tonight? I know Karen said she probably would be a little late. She said in the book group's chat of having to replace her modem or something like that. Any changes with Linda, Sandy? We all send out best wishes to Linda, which is my admin, Sandy Miller's daughter, who's currently in a hospital, and things have been rough. So we send her all Willows Bend love. Well, I should have been going live in 10 minutes reminder notice, and I forgot all about it. Oh well. Most of you know it's Monday night anyway, so it's not like it's a new idea. You know. No comment from Sandy. All right. There she is. Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy. I know that's heartbreaking news. Well, then we send her twice as much love then. How's that? Well, then this Talos show about Lemarian stuff will be in for her honor. We'll dedicate the show to her daughter, Linda. Well, geez, we might be it. I don't know where Sandy Griffin is, but she'll make her way here. She always does. No, we send all of Willow's Bend's love and healing energy to her now. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started then? And there's always stragglers, we know that. So tonight we're going to be talking about, hi Mary. Oh, definitely, yeah, let her know. We're going to be talking about Telos, which is the city that was supposed to have been built by the Lemarians after the warring and all of that happened with Atlantis, and that they had allegedly moved underground under Mount Shasta being the entrance into it. Hi, Deb. Off listening to about 8:30. Okay. So, and these were all the information that is for both episodes of tonight's show. Like I said, originally it was a part 1 and part 2, but we're throwing them together tonight. So it's the same topic. Came and were channeled through a woman named Aurelia Louise Jones, who is the author of Talos volumes 1 through 3. And so these were all from the channel messages she brought through. So that's where the stuff comes from. So the definition of Talos technically is an ultimate object or aim, and is plays into the vibe of the spiritual ideas of Telos. So let's backpedal into some history. So there's a trinity of sorts of souls that are linked together via many lifetimes, which include Aurelia, who is the author of those books and who was the one bringing through the channeled messages. And she is the human who channels the others to pass on the messages to the rest of us through channeling. Adama, which many of you have seen in the posts and things in the group, he was supposed to be the high priest of Telos and the guiding force to reunite with all energies of Lemuria. And then we have Anamar, who is a member of the Council of Elders in Telos. And so these beings, hi Marianne, are higher beings and ascended beings and have channeled through several different people, and the info and wisdom that has been imparted is always interrelated and ties together to form a truly comprehensive view of Talos and its history, the inhabitants of the society, the setup of what it's supposed to be under Mount Shasta. So due to this, I think it should be looked at as more than just a pipe dream of those looking for an escape from the horrors of the world, and can contain in the form of a kind of a utopian society. So let's look at some further history. So way back, you had Lemuria and Atlantis. There's Sandy. Now, the Lemarian age was around 4,500,000 BCE. Hi, Nancy. To 12,000 years ago. So there were once 7 major continents, and Lemuria originally consisted of the lands that are now under the ocean. And through the Pacific, and it consisted of, oh, that's okay, Nancy. We just are kind of delving into the history. So it consisted of the land that contained Hawaii, Easter and Fiji Islands, Australia, New Zealand, the lands of the Indian Ocean, and Madagascar. And the eastern coast of Lemuria extends to California, part of British Columbia, and Canada. And the Lemurians were so advanced before the fall of consciousness, lived within the 5th dimension frequencies, or the 5th dimension, and could switch back and forth to between the 3rd dimension and the 5th dimension of consciousness at will, through their intentions and their heart energies. So who were / are the Lemurians? So it was said that they were a mix of beings from Sirius Alpha Centauri and some from other planets as well, and that they came together here on Earth to form Lemuria. Atlantis came about at a later time, but the two were the highest civilizations that existed. Both had very different ideologies. thought processes regarding the planet, the direction that things should go forward with regarding those things. Hey, Renee. And although Lemuria thrived in a state of paradise for a few millions of years, the wars did eventually break out between the two. So the Lemarians thought other less evolved cultures should be left alone to evolve at their own pace. Like, okay, so we're higher beings, but you know what? They should let them learn on their own, and they will get there in their own time when they're meant to. Whereas the Atlanteans, they thought they should be brought under the control by both of them, and that this is what is supposed to have led to the wars amongst the two, Atlantis and Lemuria. Like they thought that, hey, we're higher beings, so you know what, we need to keep an eye on them and control them, because look how stupid they are, and they're going to just mess everything up, and we as higher beings are above them. So that caused a lot of contention between the two. So it said that there ended up being a series of thermonuclear wars between them, and that there were no winners. Now, these thermonuclear wars, I've seen some of the channeled messages and read on it where it started talking about how that's where today's deserts around the world came from, was from this thermonuclear war. I mean, I don't have any evidence it didn't, so we'll leave it there. They ultimately succumbed to their own aggressions between each other. They never could agree. And the Atlanteans, they got kind of greedy and were constantly pushing all the way forward to Egypt, and were said to be some of the earliest gods in Egyptian culture as well, with, they wanted it all. So it says that those beings normally lived between 20 to 30,000 years old, and those who wreaked the havoc would live to see the destruction of their lands. And when the Lemarians saw their lands were destined to fall, they petitioned the Shambhala, Shambhala the Lesser, which is now considered the Buddhist Pure Land, with the reality being as spiritual and visionary as it is physical, and who is the head of the Agartha network. This is in Inner Earth and is made up of over 120 cities that are said to be located just beneath the Earth's crust or hidden discreetly within mountains. And I do know a few people who have visited Mount Shasta and have said that it feels like it's a very spiritual place. The energy there is very palpable. No one's ever found the entrance to, enter into under the mountain, if there is one, but they definitely feel like it's a very sacred place. So the Lemarians asked if they could build their own city underneath Mount Shasta in California in order to save their culture and their records. Before approval, they had to prove that they'd learned their lesson against all the warring and aggression, to understand that warring isn't the way. And they also had to prove themselves to the Galactic Federation of Planets, which was the Council of Five. And eventually permission was granted, and understood that the city they built, Telos, would survive the cataclysm. Now, Lemarians built their city in a large domed cavern, which they called Telos. And Telos, again, means communication with spirit, oneness with spirit, understanding with spirit. When it was built, it was for a maximum population of 200,000 people. However, after the cataclysm started, that there was only 25,000 that were said to make it on time into the mountain. And it was about what was left of the Lemarian culture in our third dimension. And a blast came a bit early that destroyed the continent. I had a page stick together here. So while records, etc., had been saved, temples built, etc., not all got to safety on time. The motherland continent of Lemuria sank overnight, and so quickly and quietly that most were unaware as they were sleeping and didn't know what was happening. It said that their priests, much like the musicians on the Titanic, continued to sing as it sang. And the song that they sang, interestingly, I think, was Old Lang Syne, like the New Year's Eve song. At the same time as Lemuria was going down, Atlantis started shaking and losing parts of their land that continued on for another 200 years until its final destruction and sinking. It said that the Earth suffered major setbacks from the thermonuclear weapons, and it took several thousands of years to balance out and for it to be hospitable again, like the surface of the Earth had for it to be hospitable again for, all the other races and beings. Much debris was thrown into the atmosphere that blocked the sun and caused the extinction of much of the flora and fauna that existed at the time. I kind of had wondered if any of that was true. That could that account for, what the extinction was for the dinosaurs, the extinction event for dinosaurs, and why there is so little evidence that remains of the two great civilizations. Many cities were destroyed by earthquakes and tsunamis that went 1,000 miles inland once they hit, which, if any of you ever saw the video from the massive tsunami that struck India back in 2004, I think it was, and killed, 50,000 people. So multiply that, and that it kept going 1,000 miles inland. It said that the original height of humankind on the planet at the time was actually about 12 feet tall. And the Hyperboreans, which is a race of giants in Greek mythology who live beyond the north wind, is where it said they lived, are still 12 feet tall, but none lived on the surface. By the time Lemuria sank, the average height ended up being about 7 feet tall, as they remain today. And we've done shows before on the remains that have been found of giants, which, they could have been Atlanteans and Telosians. There's been a further lowering of the height on the planet, and most of the surface, the average tends to be 6 feet tall or less. Although I know I read some article recently that was saying how many humans, males especially, are ending up growing taller than what they used to back in the day. And, there is definitely a height difference now that there didn't used to be, but the average height is 6 feet tall. Hi, Natalie. So the government of Telos, there are two forms. The king and queen, whose names are said to be Ra and Rana, Mu, who are ascended masters and twin flames, and are the ultimate rulers of Talos. And the second government is the Lemarian Council of Light of Talos. This consists of 6 men and 6 women to balance the divine masculine with divine feminine energy. A 13th member, the high priest of Talos, which is Adama, casts the deciding vote in case of a tie. So whenever you have a council, you never have an even number because it could always result in a tie. So you have like a prime number that's an uneven number, so that the odd man out, if you would, gets the deciding vote on things. Members of the council are chosen according to the level of spiritual attainment that they've reached, inner qualities, maturity, and area of expertise they hold. So again, all this stuff comes from the books that Aurelia had written on volumes 1 through 3. Just all these are from channeled messages, and she went ahead and published them all. So the city of Telos, there's about 1.5 million living there now, and they're not divided into several villages. All share the local government and live in various areas. It is divided into 5 different levels of several square miles below Mount Shasta, and these are as follows. So first you have level 1, and it said that a large percentage of people live here. It's also where administrative and public buildings are. That there's also several temples. And in the center is the main temple called Mara, which is the pyramid shape. And it's white with a capstone called the Living Stone, having been donated from Venus. Level 2, this is where all the manufacturing and production happens for the needs of the people. Schools are also here for the children, and adults can take classes too, and many live on this level as well. Level 3 is where food is produced via hydroponic gardens, which uses water instead of soil to, raise the plants from. Food is grown over about 7 acres of land and producing a diet that's varied and is pure and free from chemicals that create strong, healthy bodies that don't age. Food grows much faster using advanced hydroponics with very little soil and with more water. It is 100% organic, free from fertilizers, and it does not deplete the soil. The fifth dimension's consciousness of love and energy is used to help speed up the production of the growth. And almost kind of a symbiotic relationship exists with the trees and the plants that are respected as sentient beings, and they are never killed or destroyed in harvesting them. So it's almost like looked at like, they rely on each other for their growth and well-being. So they never harvest everything all at once, killing the host plant or fruit tree, whatever it comes from, and take just enough of what they need, but leaving it intact so that it'll keep on growing for them. Level 4 contains some hydroponic gardens, some manufacturing, and a large area for nature. And it has like park-like settings with small lakes and fountains, which sounds lovely. Level 5 is totally consecrated to nature. There's tall trees, parks, lakes, and it's where the animals live. Many plants and animals were preserved that cannot be found on the surface anymore and that we consider extinct. They rescued a bunch of them and took them under there with them to save them, or save examples of them, I guess. All the animals are vegetarians and don't eat each other, and so that they live in harmony side by side without fear or aggression toward people or each other. Little girl, you would not fit in. She's behind me. I had to see where she was. The new Lemuria, as the original was never totally lost and still exists in the fourth and fifth dimensional frequencies. Remember the dimension show I had done that talked about someone's wanting to join Willows Bend. The fourth dimension, and you've heard me reference the fourth dimension where it's kind of like a hallway between the fifth dimension and here, or even other realms, and it's kind of how they come into the third dimension. It's not like a very structured place. It's more kind of like a hole. That's why I call it a hallway, because it kind of connects the two places. They live in harmony side by side without fear or aggression. You read that, the new Lemuria. So the fourth is the hallway to the fifth dimension, and the fourth is like the astral plane. The fifth dimension is the plane of light, the birth canal of the soul, and the doorway to the other side is in the fifth dimension. And we did do a show on the fifth dimensional consciousness. I don't remember if it was before or after joining Summer Fusion. It might be in the archives. I'd have to look. They say once you open yourself to a higher conscious way of living and you purify yourself of all distorted and erroneous belief systems that we've embraced through like our societal teachings, etc., then we will be able to perceive Lemuria and that it's very tangible. At the time of the thermonuclear blast, Lemuria was lifted to a fourth dimensional frequency and thrived there. Those in Talos are eager to help us open our hearts, cleanse ourselves of any deep-seated pain and past traumas. And all of this was channeled to Aurelia Louise Jones, who is the channeler for Adama of Telos and our author of the volume 1 through 3 of Telos, and the revelations of the new Lemuria. So Aurelia was also said to play an important role with Adama and the rulers of Lemuria, in that she had reincarnated with them several times and had chosen this time to come back in human form in order to put this information out to the public, but that when she died again, that she would join them in energetic form. Thank you, Sandy. So Aurelia graduated and went to obtain her nursing degree and license, and that she also worked as a spiritual and health counselor. She became ordained as a minister in 1978, and then she moved to Mount Shasta in June of 1998 after beginning to channel Adama. She published the 3 books on Talos of channel material that are now published in 15 different languages. And in some of the channeled messages I've seen since we originally covered this topic, some of the messages have said that there's only about 100 people worldwide that they channel through and who are capable of receiving messages from them, and that she was one of them. So she also went on to author several other spiritual teaching books. She did die in 2009 and came through in a Canadian meeting, channeling through unexpectedly from the 5th dimension with reflections of love, compassion, and her current perspective from the 5th dimension, but not to underestimate the impact of unhealed emotions on your ascension process before you can successfully move on. So basically, work through all your trauma before you go ahead and ascend, because it makes the process a lot harder if you're still harboring anything, and it won't really happen until you release it. So more on Talos as channeled by Aurelia. And these are also, by the way, the books that Chris was really interested in reading for our book group. Just as a heads up. She's been begging for that forever and a day now. All right, so the Lemarian homes. She said, according to Adama, as the 5th dimension beings, they can create their homes by manifesting what they need with their thoughts, intentions, and sustained focus. As many of you have heard me say, thought, emotions, and intentions create, right? They design their homes using sacred geometry, and many are circular in one way or another and are designed with creativity and beauty. The basic material used for the outside of their home is crystal, clear quartz. Must also keep in mind that their descriptions are from a 5th dimensional perspective and are different from our 3rd dimensional realities. Yes, I'd be interested in reading them too. After all the research for this and reading others who've channeled messages from them, it would be interesting. Adama goes on to say that all they create, including their bodies, feels physically real to them as ours do to us. He says most of their physicality is influenced with so much light, it's lost much of its density. So when talking about like the ascension process and our physicality in the 3D world, we are solid, heavy beings, right? We are not in our energetic forms, and energy is light. And so we are considered to be very, very dense in nature, so that, we're the higher ups in the higher realms have gradually kind of wafted down to create us in physical reality. But it's a very dense form and gets in our way a whole lot. So he says most of their physicality is influenced with so much light, it's lost much of its density, in that not to be tangible to us in our current consciousness. In other words, they are they're so far away from a tangible physical body form that unless you raise yourself up into the fifth dimensional consciousness, like pretty much completely, that you wouldn't be able to perceive them, because that's kind of where they reside, and that they've gotten so far away from the denseness of the physical form. Adama goes on to say that the fifth dimension is very much fluid in that they can create what they want and need almost instantly. So their homes are made out of crystal and emanate light and are opaque enough to provide privacy, but their view from inside the crystal is clear and unobstructed by anything, nor do they feel enclosed by its walls. So kind of like a semi-reflective surface on the outside, kind of like a milky quartz, but from the inside it's crystal clear. Excuse me. So since so much of the world we now know was once Lemuria and Atlantis, many of us have had one lifetime or more in as one of those places, one of those types of beings. And Adama says that we chose to, quote, stay behind, and that it's only temporary veils of illusion, of separation that exists between our realm and theirs. We are all supposed to become one soon as our evolution continues, and more of us are having our awakenings. So in semi-conclusion, as there are 3 volumes worth of knowledge and wisdom on Talos just from Aurelia alone, and a few other channelers with further descriptions about Talos, their daily lives, their environment, etc. We had talked about after that of doing the part 2. So I'm going to kind of look on into that. Hi, Jackie. Welcome. All right. So we're going to slide on into what was part 2 originally. And there we go. All right. So we've already delved into the history of Talos with the Lemarians and the Atlanteans, what their ideologies are and what they played out within the physical 3D realm, and that we live in the 3D realm, of course, and that the fifth dimension, they go back and forth between the two. They also very much stand for the one unity consciousness. So onward and upward. We're going to cover in this what was the second half of the episode, the 7 sacred flames that get discussed in a multitude of Talos information, and what they themselves describe their realm and / world to be from their perspective. So what are the 7 sacred flames and the 7 major rays that kind of go with hand in hand with them? So they are supposed to be 7 major rays that flood the earth daily, but have a specific weekday where it's the strongest. So let's start there first with that. So starting on Sunday, it is the yellow ray of wisdom, illumination in the mind of unities of one's consciousness is amplified on Sunday the most. So focusing on the one unity consciousness will help open your own mind to ever expanding wisdom. And as you merge this divine mind with your own in ways that bring satisfaction and ease to you, then Monday is the royal blue ray that is the will of the one unity consciousness. So once you come to understand that the one unity consciousness in itself, that it is a combined, like the creator is a one unity consciousness, meaning we all come together. We come from the creator or God or Allah, whatever name you choose to give that energy force that created everything. That we're all intertwined with that. So it's a one unity consciousness. So once we kind of give over to that divine in the universe, it's the fastest way to spiritual mastery and freedom and understanding the one unity consciousness. So Tuesday is rose pink ray of one unity consciousness / God / the creator, and that's amplified on that day. So basically, if you're going to use this as a form to meditate with, you would envision that specific color on that day kind of soaking over you and covering you completely, and radiating that color from you, and that would align with the day of the week and make it all the more powerful of the lessons you would take from it on that day. So on Tuesday, it would be amplifying the one unity consciousness, and it would work on transforming the healing influence of divine love. And love is the glue that creates, transforms, and heals all things and harmonizes all. Wednesday is emerald green ray of the divine flame of healing. Precipitation and the abundance is amplified. So, time to focus on energies of the divine healing in all aspects of your life. It's a balance and a soothing energy that assists you to align with many distortions you have created in your lives. You radiate the green light to blaze through all areas where transformation is needed. It also is said to govern the laws of abundance and prosperity, to bring and manifest all of your physical and spiritual desires. So that's that one on Wednesday. Thursday is the golden ray of the resurrection flame. And this focuses on the energy to restore your inherited divinity, remembering that you are a divine being having a human experience. And because we've kind of strayed from that in terms of knowledge, our divinity has kind of been veiled from us. And many people don't internalize that to understand that we are extensions of the creator and that divine energy. We hear it, but how many of you actually believe that to be truth? And some say, oh, I do, but then you question and doubt yourself every time you turn around. You hold on to traumas instead of letting healing take place. And so you're not living the idea of it. Let's see. So basically, you're going to meditate with the golden purple flames of the resurrection flame and start resurrecting your gifts and attributes of your divinity, and also to prepare you for ascending into the fifth dimension. Friday is the pure, dazzling white ray of purity, and ascension is the kind of the alchemical, there we go, marriage or divine union of your human self with your I am presence through the process of purification of all the misunderstandings, all the misrepresentations that society and our foundations of belief has given us over all of our incarnations, with false beliefs, poor attitudes, and habits blocking spiritual mastery. So it's supposed to help with that on that day. Saturday is the violet ray of transmutation and freedom. So the violet ray is almost magical in that it brings frequencies of change, alchemy, freedom from limitations, royalty, discomfort, and so much more. I'm trying really hard to attend, but the volume is kind of low. I can check to make sure my volume is okay because, my tablet has gotten kind of drunk lately. I was talking to Katie about that before I got on air. Is that any better? Yeah, it kind of automatically turns itself halfway down. So by all means, please let me know if the volume dips suddenly and I will get into my settings. I think it's about time for a new tablet, to be honest. So just, shoot it into chat if it got low suddenly. Did you hear the Saturday violet ray of transmutation and freedom? Let me know in chat. If not, I can redo it a little, but not much. Okay. So Saturday is the violet ray of transmutation and freedom. The violet ray is almost magical as it brings frequencies of change, alchemy, freedom from limitations, royalty, like, kind of like the monarchy overruling you, discomfort, and so much more. So here too. I will double check it along the way. It's still all the way up. Okay, Mary, I apologize. Like I said, apparently I need a new tablet. They don't know how to fix it. So that's always the case with the Kindle is when I call, they have no idea what's wrong or why it's doing what it's doing. So it's our own free will that whether we choose to apply these to our daily lives in order to progress or to own your own spiritual path and your evolution. The higher beings are there to assist us with just the asking. And of note, those rays do align with the chakra colors, which the whole time I was writing those notes, I do remember thinking that this sounds like the chakra colors. They are. Briefly discuss, let's see, the judge consciousness and universal law. Let's see. Oh, okay. Sorry, it was a note to myself, and I was trying to remember what that meant. So, thinking back on the research from the original show, there was a consciousness that was channeling through that called itself the judge, and it was basically coming through giving information pertaining to like how to stay balanced and just within yourself and to others, and that basically when the time comes you will be kind of held accountable, if you're a bad person or you haven't released all that negative stuff, that you're going to have to before you can ascend higher. All right, so put it on my Bluetooth so my roommate can hear you too. Oh, good. So let's talk about Mount Shasta in California. Basically, there's a whole lot of information brought through someone named Diane Robbins pertaining to their daily life. And whilst I don't have the specific quotes from her anymore in her writings, I do remember that she talked a lot about how like they'd spend their days, like there are chores and things to get out of the way first, and they do that as soon as they can upon a new day, so that they can spend the rest of the day either just enjoying the day, resting, relaxing, or learning more, even spending time within the temples, meditating with each other, interacting with one another, being playful. And she talked about in her channel messages the importance of playtime, and to giving yourself that freedom and just to have fun. And so all of that is supposed to go on underneath Mount Shasta, California. They do talk about in many channeled messages how they do come to the surface and kind of take a look around, but they very rarely come into a physical form to be viewed by anybody, because it's the entrance is kept completely secret for one, but also they don't want to scare anybody. So when they talk about in a lot of their messages that when the time is right, they will show themselves to everybody, and anyone can enter it, Mount Shasta, through meditation into their temples and things like that. So that was a lot of the things that she brought through that was supposed to have come from Adama. Sorry, just reading my notes. Okay. So, and I know like a lot of some of the channel messages kind of talk, so it references in all the stuff from Aurelia that Adama is a high priest, but I have seen some people bringing him through and channeling him like he's a general as well, but that didn't make sense to me, because if they now live a completely peaceful existence, where would they need to have a general? When I hear the word general pertaining to a station, I automatically think of like military standing. Because they're over 7 feet tall, so they don't want to startle people. And those who are sensitive to seeing light would notice that about them and around them. So they said that, when the time is right and enough people have had their awakening, then yes, they will make themselves visible, and welcome people in under Mount Shasta. Yeah, and that so remembering back to the original research I'd done, um, so the Agartha network, yes, and he's a high priest of Talos as well, Deb. And yet, in this one person who channeled it, like I said, it just didn't quite resonate with me, that of him being a general, because what would be the need to have a general, like a military thing, when they had to agree to give up their warring ways in order to reside there? They wouldn't have an army or a military, excuse me, or a need for that. So it's kind of shaky on that one. So the Agartha network is said to run like pretty much around most of the way under the ocean and so forth around the globe, and into like the Indian Ocean from the Pacific, and that there are many other cities under there of different beings that exist there, and light beings, etc. And that Talos is just part of that network, and that it does go underneath Mount Shasta, but extends, under the ocean, as well as still kind of like their old territories under the earth, pertaining to heading in towards Canada and stuff. So not all the way over to British Columbia as it once did, but I would think kind of the western part of Canada. Hi, Yvonne. So the rest of them, like a lot of other beings from Talos, other priests, priestesses, teachers, etc., do also come through in various channeled messages. But again, they said that in the original information from Aurelia that they only channel through to about 100 people globally, and that those, if they listen with their hearts, they will be able to discern the difference between whether someone's actually talking to them or thinking they are. So that's kind of Talos in a nutshell. But we did talk about, like I said, being in the fifth dimensional consciousness. I'm trying to see where we went to next. Pyramids and the secret bases of Antarctica. Because that went faster than I thought it would, from it being a 2-part show. I mean, I can go on or go back to a couple of the earlier topics, because I jumped ahead in order to grab Talos 1 and 2, part 1, part 2, figuring that, they'd be flow in between topics rather than be completely random like we've been presenting. But in order to elongate the show a little bit, if you guys want, I can go back to the first set of topics in this notebook. So you guys call it. Keep going, keep going. Yeah, go, 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 go. All right, so let me get to the beginning here, this notebook. This would have been a handy notebook in school, but for note-taking purposes, there's all this extra stuff in the front, like geography and ruler things and measurements and stuff that I don't use for this show. All right, so the first topic that got covered, we're going to backpedal a little bit to November 2nd of 2020. And we covered the Council of Five. So this was a second notebook from Willows' original notes. Basically, we finished the first one, did all the pertinent shows in there. I didn't recover a couple of them that were really smaller ones, like the Island of Dolls, or just the smaller topics that lasted like 20 minutes, because there really wasn't that much information on them. So kind of skipped them for the archives, but I wanted to get the bulk of them in there anyway, the bigger ones. So what is the Council of Five? Now, we did talk briefly about this last week, and I did not publish. I posted the PDF book that is kind of seen as the Bible of ufology in the group last week. And if it's lost in the feed, then it is in the files section in the group under those gray tabs. go all the way to the right side, and there's a tab called Files, and it should be in there if anyone's interested in reading it. So the Council of Five, they used to originally be a Council of Nine, and through different reasons, whether it was treachery or they had illicit activity, etc., there were 4 members who got removed, and it descended down to 5. Yeah, it is really interesting. So a little back history on that for those who didn't know about it is that there were 2 guys that online became best buddies, and one guy said to the other, "Hey, I got to go to my uncle's house this weekend to help him move some boxes around, blah blah blah. You want to come? Road trip? Yay, let's go." And then when he got there, they started moving some stuff, but started kind of seeing what the boxes were labeled as. And apparently, unknown to either of them, the guy's uncle was like a really, really high bigwig in the Russian army or military or government, whichever it was, but really high up. And he had access to a lot of this stuff. So there are a lot of things in there pertaining to what they said was both forced and volunteered information through interviews from different alien races, what they think of us, which ones would kind of come to our defense if there was a problem, which ones just wouldn't bother with us or are afraid to cross other races so they won't get involved, that sort of thing. And after talking to the uncle, he said, "Oh yeah, these are all my old papers back in the day. And because I retired after spending my career doing this, I still have many contacts within the Russian government, and they still just send me stuff regularly and email me stuff or fax it over to me, and I just kind of add it to the pile." So they started going through all of this and compiled this book. And I remember when I was doing research for the original Council of Five show, no matter what site I went to, it all referenced back to this book. So it is seen as the main information about the different races and what the Council of Five is, how it all works, what the different races have to say about us. And they said that there is still a plethora of material left at the uncle's house. They were hoping to get onto a volume 2, but I've never seen one made, just this one. But yeah, it is interesting. So the Council of Five is a council of different races of aliens who are supposed to be like protectors of Earth and humans for perhaps millions of years. And it's reported that they last met here on Earth in 1944. It's said that the Anunnaki first tampered with the DNA of primates and created humanoids. It was then that the Council of Five began protecting us and the Earth as they realized that one day humans had the potential to join other alien races in development and enlightenment. So they are said to have had former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, good Deb, on 3 different occasions have met. Like it was said that the Council of Five met with him on 3 different occasions. With USSR leaders 3 different times, and tried to meet with the former US President Nixon, who adamantly refused to have anything to do with them. He claimed it would be too dangerous because they might have read his mind about, quote, delicate security secrets and relations with the USSR, which is, of course, now Russia. So he is said to have bowed out from dealing with them, but most of it took place with Dwight D. Eisenhower and said that they reached agreements on, what would transpire behind the scenes regarding us and them. It's said that the races that make up the Council of Five is now, and some of these I might botch because there was no, within that book, the PDF book, there wasn't like a pronunciation guide that came with it. So I'll do my best and hope I have it right to not offend any other race out there. So the first one is the Arella, and they are unknown only except for artists' renditions through games and media sources They speculate what they look like. The agaro or agaret, and again, only through artist renditions. I have posted the pictures before of what they show, but did they really look like that? Who's to say? I don't know. The Ginvo, Ginvo, the Redan, which are very technologically advanced, benevolent, and telepathic. The Amerther, known as the Friendly Greys, one of the founder races of the Council of Five, and they don't force anything on us at all, and they recognize and acknowledge and honor our free will. It said that the book that I posted, that they were supposed to meet again on the last 10 days of August of 2013, but there's been no news as to whether that took place or not, at least none that I've seen anyway. It's also said that their arrival could cause cosmic events that could affect the Earth's atmosphere. The only thing I could find from August 2013 was that Neptune was at its closest approach to the Earth and its face was fully illuminated by the sun. It only appeared as a tiny blue dot to super powerful telescopes. So I did look that up of like what was any big cosmic event that took place on that date of August 2013, and that was the only thing that was noted was the Neptune was visible fully, and you could fully see it with a powerful telescope. It was also said that there would be more sightings of UFOs at that time, which definitely was always the thing. So according to the UFO Chronicles, the number of sightings globally were up 22% by the end of August of 2013. There had been the total number of sightings seen in August of 2013 was 4,181. So this book states that, quote, there's many more races that would like to protect humans, but they're not willing to start a war against the reptilians or the, bear with me on the pronunciation, Matre over you, quote unquote. The Mazarek crew member from a crash in the 1960s near Sweden, he kind of passed that message on. And so some of the alien messages that were in this book, it said that there are 5 universes, 2,500 alien species and 1 race, when it had question mark in parentheses. In 2022, you will see the beginning of the end unless you all change. So these are all different messages obtained through voluntary interviews with some of the aliens and some that were forced to have, they kind of tortured the alien to get the information. The signs are all around you and above you and inside of you, in the fields, the sky, and the stars, and in the eyes of your children and in the old ones. Of all the species, we have found 3 in the universe. You are the ones with the most suicidal thoughts. Just like you learn to love a stranger after you meet him, some of us have learned to love you. We will always protect you until you say no more. Your world is so full of lines, follow them. No other race ridicules other races and each other's like yours do. We could stop your sun from rising tomorrow. These are but some of the quotes and personal messages through the interviews that were given. So as you can see, some were done under distress. And so there's kind of a variety of messages there, like, you guys are screwing yourselves and it's going to end badly if you don't stop, to, we got your backs, but stop it already. They were obtained from several different sources. It's called APIS, APIS, all capital letters. It's an acronym. and that's supposed to stand for Alien Presence Intelligence Services from around the world, but mainly USSR/Russia, USA, China, and Japan. They don't express the opinions of all of the alien races that are out there, but the ones who have been detained or decided to voluntarily interact with certain governments. Those are some of the messages that are contained within that PDF book. Who created the universe and all of us? That's been answered exactly the same way by the races who've spoken about it. So as far as the publishers of this information knows, the last of the leaders to get the message was JFK on October 3rd, 1963. And it was sent by the Rame and Jeffok races. And the message states, oh, okay. Apparently there was a picture related to that. I can look it up quick if you guys are interested in it. Yes, no? Sorry, and sometimes I forget to look to see did I have visuals with a certain topic. You guys want me to look it up to get the quote by them that was given to JFK? Yes, okay. So I'm going to leave the chat and go over to my Google. Should be in there. So let's see. Look up. Okay. Let's see. Message given to JFK on, was the date? I know there was a date. 10/3/63. 10/3/63. Sent by the Jeff Falk and Raleigh races. Let's see what we get. All right, let's shorten it because it didn't come up in that. Alien messages given to JFK. I am not totally finding it here. Trying to check the dates of his speeches, messages, whatever. I know what I'll do here. And I am working on it. I'm cheating slightly, but it's not really cheating. I'm going to go into the book itself. That's probably where it's located. Okay. Okay. Can you open it? That'd be great. Download file. Okay, so got put into my files just to make it more complicated. There it is. Probably could have just gone there to begin with, because I know I have it stored in there. It doesn't let me share it out when I have it in there. So, Council 5 alien files. So I'm guessing it would be under the Council 5. So, let's see here. Yes. It's the different races of beings. They do have pictures of the different races, but again, I don't know how accurate they are in there. Or, I mean, there are places where it says that it's a, reference from artwork, etc. So, let's see here. Past all of them. But I know in there it does have like a picture of them and then the quotes that allegedly had come from them through different interview processes, etc., which are quite a lot in there actually. Council of 5. All right. Just gonna go forward till I start seeing. Okay, there's Eisenhower. And if I don't find it in a minute, I'll just move on and know that you can look through the book PDF thing on your own at your leisure. The latest any entry was made to like an addition to the book was 2013. I don't know where or why it wasn't continued after that. If something happened to them, there's no additional information online talking about that of like what happened to them. But it does go into how many different alien races did appear throughout time and history to all the various different popes that were like bigwigs in power, as well as other religious leaders. And it's probably hidden in the Vatican Library, kept from the light of day. Let's see. So they have a note in here from the gentleman who put this together in Petro, which is the nephew to the uncle who was in the Russian military government. Says these are some of the handwritten notes and updates found on the alien races book pages. There are literally hundreds of them, about 3 or 4 in each page. We chose the ones that we deem more relevant. Otherwise, this publication would have thousands of pages. We may one day publish all of the notes. Let's see. I see something with JFK in here. JFK had DNA from the first race called Yakum-3 with 3 exclamation points. Let me load the page. Come on, catch up to me here. Yeah, these are some of the different quotes from the races still. So I know it's in there somewhere because that's where I got it on the original show, but there's like 93 pages to the PDF. It is very interesting, educational, and good. And again, it's kind of seen as like the UFO Bible, so to speak. Any source out there on ufology, in essence, refers back to either all of this or the parts of it. There's lots of photos in it as well. So, but it goes, I mean, it has even references to the really early history of humans and some of like the ancient artwork and so forth discovered, and how like some of the races were portrayed by humans through the years in different, bas reliefs on the walls and so forth in their architecture. So, anyways, that is the PDF. So let me move things around a little bit and get back into the show. Facebook. I apologize, it's not coming up for me, and I don't want to waste, sit here for 20 minutes trying to find it either, because, yeah. But it's in there, and anybody can access it should they choose. All right, we got chat back. So anyways, he was allegedly sent some information or messages on October 3rd of 1963. I did have a photo originally referencing it, but once I would finish the show, I would delete the resources. The result of Eisenhower's meeting with the Council of Five. So the first treaty was shot down by Eisenhower, but it's alleged that he did go on to sign a treaty aligning with the Council of and allied with the draconian reptilian snake people, ant and stick people, and the alien greys. So the terms of the treaty reportedly have been that they would not be involved in our affairs and we wouldn't be involved in theirs. They'd keep their presence on Earth a secret. And remember, this meeting took place back in 1944 or something. They wouldn't make a treaty with any other one Earth nation. They'd help us with developing our technology. They could abduct humans for various experiments, but had to provide the names of all of the Majestic 12 committee. And we've talked about them before, and that was a U.S. government committee that made up of 12 members of the big wigs of the government. And they dealt with all the UFO stuff. So they could take all the people, and we talked about the missing people before. It's really mind-blowing if you think that of close to 1 million people per country go missing every year. And of course, foul play accounts for some women, runaways, and all that other stuff. So let's say you knock it down to 80,000 people instead of your 800,000 people go missing per year. Let's give it to 20,000 will be murders and all those others that are hidden, disappear, etc. And you multiply that against every, nation in the world. That's a hell of a lot of humans that they're abducting and doing what they want with. And as long as they give the names to the government of who they're stealing, then we're good. Yeah. Each nation would exchange 16 personnel with each other, and the purpose would be to learn from each other. The public is not to be informed about the existence of extraterrestrials. It was also agreed that bases would be constructed underground for the use of the alien nation, and 2 bases would be made for joint use, like exchanging. Well, yeah, it's kind of like, they could abduct humans for various experiments, it said. And, there's a cajillion abductees that do come back telling their stories, as well as having implants that, once removed, the metals in them, etc., cannot be identified by the medical community. That much I do know. Probably not. Probably not. It was also agreed the bases would be constructed underground for the use of the alien nations, and 2 bases would be made for joint use. Exchange of the technology would take place in the jointly occupied bases. But I have read other resources that talk about that they gave technology to us. However, they didn't give all of the information to it, and that it resulted in some disastrous experiments because they were missing key components in building different ships, whatever, or trying to figure them out and reverse engineer them. And I know it talked about it briefly in one of the Seth books that we read in book group, about how it resulted in like the brutal death of like 100 and some odd personnel that were just vaporized by their misdeeds. Yes, hi Karen. They have many unknown metal things in people, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's another thing is alien hybrids and stuff. Well, and there's, that's kind of that thought exists too, is that there are certain characteristics common amongst different hybrids. It's said that in order to help identify them. Yes, I agree. It is believed that a lot of them are tracking devices so they can, do like longitudinal studies on humans over their lifetime. And that for a lot of them report the abductions happening way back as far as they can remember as children, but now they're adults and they're having memories come through of these abductions that had been like forgotten, but are coming back to the surface, and that they've gone on like all their lives at different times and places, and sometimes even families are involved. So that's all that's really known about the Council of Five, is what's in that PDF book that's in the group. Again, it's 93 pages long, so there is a lot of information in there, and it is very interesting. They say in the book that yes, all these documents are valid and from the Russian government. Exactly. So let's see. The next topic we had decided to cover after that was historic mysteries, but I know I probably had pictures with that one. I'm just guessing. I would have. So why don't we hold off on that? Because those types of shows are better to have pictures with, because they involve like, structures and things. Got the book downloaded. Good. Saw an interview with a lady that met 3 of her children that they took every time. Yeah. Yep. I've seen a couple of them. Now, there are a couple interviews out there, like on YouTube, etc., that the person very obviously is mentally ill in how they're putting forth their memories, and that it sounds pretty extreme that intermixed, if you have a good listening ear to read between the lines, you can pick up on the reason that they are substituting like certain aspects of their family life, perhaps, or traumas they went through within their family into abduction stories. So you got to kind of look at it with that eye, that some of those reports are, yes, person's a little off center, has issues, and others are, everyday people. So let's skip the mysteries, because I'm almost guaranteeing I would have had pictures with it. Not all of them, but probably a bunch, knowing me. And I know you guys love pictures, so yes, these definitely had pictures of them. But yeah, that's part of that show. That was a long one, wasn't it? What do we got next? Lucid Dreaming. We have next. If you guys want to do that, we can. That was interesting. And that was done November 16th of 1920. 2020. Jumping back in time a little bit here, Donna. You guys want Lucid Dreaming? And then we'll wrap it up for the night. So then technically you would have gotten 4 topics tonight. Well, Talos 1 and 2, Council of 5, and Lucid Dreaming. So 3 topics. Okay, so lucid dreaming. What is it? A lucid dream is a dream during which the dreamer is aware that they're dreaming. Okay, cool. So you may gain some amount of control over the people in the dream, the narrative, and the environment, but it's not necessary for it to be considered a lucid dream. Exactly. Yeah, we'll just jump back and call it a do-over. So lucid dreaming has been being studied for years, from ancient times to modern times, seeking to better understand their purpose and their cause. I personally do not care for lucid dreaming because I wake or come back from it feeling like I didn't sleep at all and not rested at all, and that bugs me. So it's more like a twilighty type of rest for me versus being lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming can also be induced. I was not born yet either in 1920, not till 1971. So dream induced lucid dreams, something within the dream triggers the dreamer to understand that they've been dreaming. And lucid dreaming happens most commonly during REM sleep, which you usually enter about 90 minutes after falling asleep. Scientists have found usually lucid dream. I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, right? 56 years before I was thought of. Yeah, I don't like them when I have them. I mean, I have them, but I don't care for them because I wake up feeling just as tired as I did when I went to sleep. Exactly, Natalie. You don't feel rested when you get up from them, and you're just kind of like, ugh, well, that sucked. So scientists have found that um, physical differences within the brains of people who do and do not have lucid dreams. So it's not something everybody experiences, but there are physical differences between our brains and theirs. So they found more people who lucid dream have longer prefrontal cortexes than those that don't lucid dream. And the prefrontal cortex is the site of high level tasks like making decisions and recalling memories. Forgot what feeling 100% rested is like. Exactly. Yes, that very much could be if you're lucid dreaming, you're aware you're dreaming. That's a lucid dream. And yeah, I mean, I never wake up rested from it. I always feel just as tired when I get up. Oh, that's why I don't like them. Um, Chalked it up to psoriasis. Same here. My other, okay, I love the vividness. I mean, all of my dreams tend to be vivid, so that's not a thing, but it's just, again, I don't get up feeling rested from them. Totally aware that I'm dreaming and what's happening, but yeah, it just doesn't do anything for me. Okay, so more who have lucid dreams are self-reflective people who spend a lot of time thinking over thoughts in their heads. It's now also thought that it happens in the in-between state where you're not fully asleep yet. Wait a second. Stick pages. Kind of doing a repeat on the book group here, jumping ahead without. Okay, so it's where you're not fully asleep yet. Sorry, I thought that was a quote. So, um, that would be like the twilight sleep thing, which is kind of what mine feel like. It's like I'm in twilight sleep. So it said that the benefits of lucid dreaming is you may have less anxiety. From a lucid dream, you can shape the story and its ending and have you feel empowered. You can have increased motor skills because in a lucid dream, you're practicing a movement there and it can have the same benefit as whilst awake. You have better problem solving. So lucid dreaming can help people problem solve creatively more than logic. Typically take control of my dreams. Sometimes they're a lot of fun. I want to go back, but if I have to get up to pee, it may be a total other scenario when I finally go back to sleep. Yeah. I could see you being Billy Badass in your lucid dreams. And just as antagonistic as you can be in waking life. The dangers of lucid dreaming, it may also cause problems, including having less quality sleep. The vivid ones can have you awake more often, and if you're too focused on it, then you have more waking time. You can cause confusion, delirium, and hallucinations, which thankfully I've never had. So, in people with certain mental health conditions, lucid dreams can blur the line between fantasy and reality, and you can increase your chances to lucid dream by priming your mind for noticing unusual details. For example, that things that act as a trigger to allow you to think about like that, whatever the trigger is, to go into a lucid dream, like to focus on it. Researchers have also tried reality testing, which is check at different times during the day to see whether someone's in a dream or not, like question what seems obvious. Having a dream journal. So it's been found that people have more lucid dreams when keeping a log of their dreams. And it may just be because it helps over time with dream recall, which it does do. Call it a nice scenario. And I know from personal experience in one of my psychology classes, we had done the psychology of sleep and dreams was the name of the class. And we had to keep a dream journal for the entire semester. And it does definitely increase your dream recall over time and you remember more about it. So getting woke up and back to bed, you can also try this to increase your chances to have a lucid dream. When you wake up like after every 5 hours of sleep, stay up briefly and then go back to bed and try to re-enter REM sleep. Mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, which is mild. You wake up after 5 hours of sleep and tell yourself several times that next time you dream, you'll remember your dream. And this uses prospective memory, which is the act of remembering to do something in the future to trigger a lucid dream. You can use devices. There are some masks and headbands that may have sounds or lights that may bring on a lucid state. Others may record and play messages used in the mild technique, which you're asleep now. That's all of what science says about them, really. I do not recall the last time I slept 5 hours straight. I just don't ever do it. 3.5 hours is a stretch for me, usually less. So there are 10 things. Yeah, definitely not, Nancy. 10 things that you don't know about lucid dreams. So the first, number one, is the first lucid dreams were recorded as far back as the ancient Egyptians, and it was based on interpreting hieroglyphs. So the Egyptians believed in 3 bodies. The first one being Sha'at, which is the corpse body, Ka, the living body, and 3 was Ba, the soul. It's thought that Ba could be representative of the individual having an out-of-body experience. Number 2, 1 in 5 people lucid dream every month or more. I can keep getting up and down and going back to bed, but I just don't sleep long chunks of time at once. Like usually it's average is about 2 to 2.5 hours is my average. 3.5 hours is a stretch for me, but yeah, if I usually do that. I get up, stay up for a few minutes, check messages, etc. Maybe stay up for an hour, take care of the animals, whatever, and then I lay back down. So children seem to have lucid dreams more than adults, probably because they're less impacted by stress and logical thinking and haven't been taught logic reasoning skills much yet. It's often thought that they're more prone to nightmares, and these can awaken the part of the brain responsible for self-awareness that can say, hey, I'm dreaming. Many lucid dreams without realizing it so many people have them without realizing it is a lucid dream and they don't know the name for it, but it's still a lucid dream. It takes me a few hours to get to sleep. Till lately, I've never had trouble getting to sleep, at least 7 hours sleep. I cannot imagine that. I don't have no memories whatsoever ever sleeping 7 hours straight in my life. Just saying. Um, yeah, that's about how it works too. So you can have a lucid dream without realizing that that's what it is. And number three, when you close your eyes in a lucid dream, you can wake up, much like when you'd close your eyes to tell yourself something you saw isn't real, and then reopen them to see if it's still there. It can also lead you back to waking from a lucid dream. And interestingly, you can also resume a dream wherever you left off too by doing that. There's also dream exit induced lucid dreaming. So if you wake by accident, I almost always wake up a couple minutes before my alarm goes off. So if you're lucid dreaming, you can jump back in by keeping your body still so as to not disturb the REM atonia, where muscles activity is inhibited except middle ear muscle activity and eye movement. So you close your eyes immediately during waking, you don't move, and you should find yourself going back into the dream and fully lucid. You reverse your alarm, that's funny. Number four, lucid dreamers can talk to the outside world. So back in 1975, a British psychologist, Dr. Keith Hearn, achieved a world's first. Yeah, sometimes it's that, yeah, you can pick up nightmares too. So he recorded the eye movements of Alan Worsley as he slept and engaged in lucid dreaming in the lab. The two men had agreed upon a pattern of eye movements or signals with, like before, with or hand signals even. By moving his eyes inside of a lucid dream, Worsley was able to communicate with Hearn in the outside world while dreaming. This proved consciousness inside the dreams is indeed a real thing. And it was further backed up by the EEG readings that recorded a lower frequency gamma brainwave state in lucid dreaming. But can we, on the outside, send a message to the dreamer? To a degree, as we maintain our survival instincts while dreaming. So let's say if I poked you in the ribs while you slept, you may interpret that in dream time, although it would usually have a different context. So let's say if you're sleeping and I don't know, decided to mess with you and I poked you in the ribs, you may in a dream state or lucid dream state have that be, someone punched you. It could be you got stabbed by something, whatever, but that's sensation in waking person touching you could translate into the lucid dream as something. So for example, another example of this is, so if I'm in the middle of a hardcore dream, but I have to really go to the bathroom, I will start to dream about like having to go to the bathroom and not being able to find a bathroom, or just having the sensation of, okay, I got to stop what I'm doing soon because I really got to go to the bathroom. Whoever's around me in the lucid dream or regular dream, I will be like, guys, I gotta go pee before we go do anything else, whatever. When that's acts as a trigger to me to wake me up when I really have to go badly, my body and my consciousness kind of work together. And so I recognize when I start to experience that in dream time, pull myself out of it and wake my ass up so I can get up and go and make it in time. So that's another example of how you can influence your dream time. Number 5, lucidity arises from a special part of the brain. Yes, Natalie, so you understand. No, never trust dream toilets. Absolutely not. And that's another signal I use too, that if I'm finding a bathroom in there, I'm going to go to the bathroom in a dream, you wake your butt up and you get to the bathroom, because otherwise you're going to be having an accident. So yeah, to avoid that, that's acts as a signal for me to pop awake and hurry up. So lucidity arises from a special part of the brain. So first, when we lucid dream, this stimulates the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex responsible for self-awareness and waking memory. This area usually deactivates during REM sleep, which is why we struggle to remember our usual dreams. Number 6, lucid dreaming can be mapped as a separate state of consciousness. These tread among the rarer states of human experiments like deep sleep, sleep paralysis, and mystical experiences. I do that now where I just know that if I'm dreaming about finding a bathroom, having to go to the bathroom, wake my fanny up and get up and go, because I won't make it. If I find a bathroom in the dream and I do start to go, then yeah, game over. Number 7, vitamin B6 can increase your dream recall and intensity. So a 2002 study showed that taking a daily 250 milligram B6 supplement reported significant increase in dream vividness, bizarreness. Not everybody wants bizarre dreams. Emotionality and the color of the dreams. It's suggested, for example, to take 100 milligrams of nature-made supplement about 2 hours before bed for just a few nights, then take a break for a few weeks. You can have too much B6, which is 100 milligrams daily is a large dose. So obviously 250 milligrams is a really lot. Most of us get the required 1.3 milligram of B6 from the things we eat. So the difference between 250 milligrams versus 1.3. Yes, basically, because you don't want too much, but it is, you can do it once in a while and your body will get rid of it. It's just don't take it on a daily basis, because that's way, way more than what you need on a daily basis. People might love this part. Number 8, lucid dreaming orgasms can be real. Peeper time. I usually find a bathroom that isn't private area. No matter how hard I try, I still need to go pee. That's when I wake up and realize it's real right now. Thank God for that, or I might have to change my sheets off. And yeah. No, like I said, I know that for me, that's a trigger to wake my fanny up and go. I was wondering who was going to respond to that. I was going to reread it. So number 8, lucid dreaming orgasms can be real. Science has shown real physical responses accompanying a lucid dreaming orgasm, including increased heart rate, changes in vascular tissue, and other muscular reactions, depending if you're a man or a woman. Yes, I think most people, male and female, have experienced that. It's often men who orgasm and lucid dream. They do often ejaculate in real life. Number 9, meditation is profoundly linked with self-awareness in dreams. It can help enter the state of lucid dreaming easier than the average person. Number 10, Tibetan Buddhist monks use lucid dreaming on their paths to enlightenment. There is something called Tibetan dream yoga, and it is originally an Eastern form of lucid dreams created by Buddhist monks at least 1,000 years ago. They have set goals to harness the power of lucid dreaming state and to complete a number of tasks to take them to the next level. So, for example, practicing sadhana, which is a spiritual discipline, recording initiations, empowerments, and transmissions from like higher beings. Usually wake up just before. Oh, that's terrible. I would hate that. Communicating with Yadam, which is a higher being in the Buddhist practice, meeting with other sentient beings, flying and shape-shifting into other creatures, And finally, in a spiritual context, what are lucid dreams? So many believe that when we dream and our conscious mind kind of closes down, that our soul self takes over the wheel. We've talked a lot about that in the past. Dreams become the platform for creation. There are no rules. You can create whatever you choose to in there. It is experiencing living as just your soul without a body, just as you would be if you were dead and vibrating in the fourth, fifth, or even sixth dimensions. And that's a quote by Kosh and Susan from 2017. It can also awaken you to the realities in waking life and our position in it. So, what is the difference between astral projection and lucid dreaming? In astral projection, you helm your dream. You're in control. Your body, you dream body consciously. You're completely aware of the entire process. You feel attached to your physical body once you're out of the dream body, and your predetermined destination dictates your out of body experience usually. So, how does that compare to lucid dreaming? You only regain consciousness after sliding into your dream body. You just become aware that you're dreaming in whatever context that it's happening in, usually in astral projection. You are consciously leaving your body and transitioning into a dream body. And in lucid dreaming, you have no knowledge of that transition. So in one, you are aware of it, and the other, not so much. So once you've had your awakening, lucid dreaming can become quite different. It can help us with our awareness, even if we don't realize it. You guys are funny. Loosen the head off these. You learn to be present in the moment, notice your surroundings, and take in things without being sidetracked by random thoughts or the past or the future. End quote by Dr. Beverly D'Urso. You come to realize everything is a reflection of you, people who migrate around you. A good way to judge where you're at. Are you surrounded by negativity and negative people? If so, then that's because you're drawing to it by how you conduct yourself in thoughts, emotions, etc., with the law of attraction. Becoming aware during dream time is a springboard into enlightenment. We can have our egos out of the way, and lucid dreaming can give a free space to create and develop ourselves in order to be aware in the physical world. So again, remembering that thoughts, emotions, and intentions do create, we can control these whilst lucid dreaming. And you can turn it, even if you start out like with an awareness in a certain environment in the dream state and certain people are there, you can change that dream state if you choose to, or you can just see how it's going to play out. If something happens, you can kind of say, wait, back up a little bit. Let's go back to that. And then you can kind of evolve it. But through the whole thing, you're quite aware that you're dreaming. Oh, that's sad, Nancy. I'm sorry. So that is, in essence, the topic of lucid dreaming. And it sounds like within the group, there's a consensus of pretty much everybody has them. Most don't really like them a whole lot. Others don't come out of it feeling rested, which, yeah, that is typical, and it does happen. So the following topic that now we could either go back to the historic mysteries show for next week, and like ancient Malta, which should have a lot of pictures to it, so I'd have to go in and grab those again to match up with the research and stuff. It's up to you guys if you want to go there. But other topics that we did do, yep, that too, Karen. We did like around there, RH negative blood factor, Plum Island, cats and spirituality, Rougarous, werewolves, and dogmen. The emerald tablets, tablets of Thoth. If there be dragons, and the spiritual side of dragons versus, the myths and lore of them. You are very welcome. So you want to aim for that, historic mysteries in ancient Malta. And I just will have to not be in chat as much in order to get the pictures. Unless I take them. Well, no, that won't work either. I can use that secondary tablet to take screenshots of a screenshot, if that makes sense. Just the quality of picture isn't always great. Yes, okay. So we'll do that for next week then, and I will make sure I pull those pictures in time for the show ahead of time. And we'll do that. Because I know the Historic Mysteries one was an interesting show that covered a lot of different things that are ancient mysteries. Well, historic, they go back in time, but also more modern things that were unexplained, whatever. I realized I didn't do the sage blessing at the beginning, but my intention is still there for it. So, all right, my lovelies, and that'll be it for tonight. Remember, book group got moved to Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time for anyone interested. And book group chat is still open, of course, till then. And I'll be around otherwise. Y'all know how to find me. Thank you for coming, as always, Sandy, and much love to you as well. And we'll see you in the book group, of course. And don't forget, if you're interested, check out that PDF book in the files section tab. And so just scroll all the way over to the right side, and it's over there under the group photo. There's a whole bunch of tabs. They all, pretty much most of them have a bunch of stuff in them. Not all of them, but most. Yeah, we just started the Children of the Fifth World last week, just barely. So we will pick that up in book group, and I'm knocking everything over in the process of double checking the title of that book. And then we'll talk about too what books to move on to after this, because it's not a super long book. It's moving through it quite quickly, so we should get kind of that figured out here in order to have them on hand. So anyways, everyone have a wonderful, blessed night. Stay well out there and safe, and I will see you guys around Facebook land. Lots and lots of love. And yes, the show is dedicated to Linda Miller, and may all of Willows spend love coat her in healing energy, and she come back from where she's at now. Is my hope for her. No, you are always welcome to make it, Natalie, when you can. So good night, love to everybody, and stay safe and well out there. And I'll see you guys in book group at the latest, but chat, we hang out in there a lot. So good night, everybody. Lots of love, and thank you for coming as always. Good night.